we're here because we're mediators. We're mediators coming from 52 different countries, Mediators Beyond Borders International, and we're here to educate about mediation, to let everybody know what the mediation process is. And also, we're here to encourage mediation to be included in the final protocols. And why don't I let Gregg just talk a little bit about that?
We've been coming to the COP now for 5 years. And as Susie said, we are an international non-government organization dedicated to the constructive conflict management of social and political policy problems. So climate change is a place where we are encouraging the delegates to include in the text detailed language about conflict management and mediation. We think the language that's in the Kyoto Protocol, for example, while good language, is quite general, and it focuses on nation-state conflict, but we really think that climate change conflict will be at every scale, and the resources should be there to help communities as well as countries be able to manage their conflicts and turn to mediation so that they can resolve their differences in a peaceful way.
Thank you. Susie, I know you from a lot of conferences. How have you seen any changes during the last years?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. Well, from our perspective, being here as Mediators Beyond Borders International, I'm going to talk about that because we've made some really good inroads, especially Gregg and some of the other fellows on our team have gotten to meet with heads of different delegations, and I've gotten to speak with some of the delegates too, and they're very, very receptive of this language. They very much appreciate learning about mediation if they haven't already. They see the value of that because as climate change issues begin to ferment, and there will be as we have water receding and forests disappearing and agricultural lands becoming deserts, there's going to be disputes. And so they've been very, very receptive. Many of them have offered to get this language that we're suggesting that includes mediation and conciliation in the final accords with regard to dispute resolution. So in that regard, I'm very optimistic. We've had good feedback. Do you have anything to add?
Well, I sat in on a session this morning that focused on decision-making procedures. And I think one of the things I find heartening is that the delegates realize how complex this situation is and that the challenge of finding consensus is formidable, but they're willing to think innovatively about how to develop a consensus process that works. And in some cases, that means relying on the skills of the facilitators and the chairs who, in a way, serve in a kind of mediator role. So I think we're encouraged. We come to these every year, and I attend most of the Bonn intersessions, and people are committed. They're working very hard, and the progress may sometimes be a little bit slower than people would like, but I think we are making progress.
How would you describe the atmosphere at the talks at the moment?
Well, I listened to Christina Figueres yesterday when she had a chat to let some of us know what's going on, and I like to reiterate what she said. She's a very positive person. I'm a very positive person, and even though there's some bumps in the road, I like to think that things are going to end up in a more positive way. I just came from a session where they were discussing, working together, various delegates with regard to one of the gender issues. I was very pleased to see how that worked. Sometimes I almost fall asleep in those sessions, but I sure didn't in this one. They were alert, they were articulate, and at one point when they just seemed to be stuck on an issue, the negotiator who was representing the Secretariat said, how about we just take a 5-minute break? And do you know, everybody, the bulk of the room convened about him, and they worked it out in 10 minutes without pressing the button and what do you think, and this is Mexico, this is what I think. It was really very exciting. So yes, I'm optimistic.